In this episode, I'm thrilled to talk with Scott Wyden Kivowitz, the community and blog wrangler at Photocrati Media, a freelance photographer, blogger, author and educator, and has more than a decade of experience photographing portraits, landscapes and businesses. At Photocrati, Scott runs a blog and also does virtual and face-to-face education around photography business, marketing and search engine optimization. With a background and education in both photography and marketing, he puts his expertise and passion to good use in his blogging and workshops. Scott lives in New Jersey with his wife and also runs a freelance photography business alongside his daily Photocrati work. Okay, so hi Scott, great to catch up with you again.
Yes, thanks for having me back.
Oh, it's fantastic. I think we might end up with you being a sort of a regular on here if we're not careful, eh?
That would be fun.
So let's jump right in, and today we're going to be talking about the always hot and sometimes polarizing topic of photography websites. It's one of those things that everybody has or needs, and people argue about them left and right. So even though the internet is, I guess, barely past being a teenager for most of us, I remember when the internet was just a little baby, it's hard to imagine doing any kind of marketing for the business without a website. So, why do you think that so many people struggle with their web presence these days?
A variety of things. I think most working photographers are too busy to step back and do their research, so they rely on believing what friends say or what business people they network with say, rather than really digging into it and getting advice from people who work with photography websites on a daily basis. But at the same time, I think new photographers sometimes want to go the inexpensive route and not invest in something modern, unique, and beneficial for the new businesses.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that I see a lot of is this idea that, well, I guess I'll just look around and see what everybody else's website looks like, and I'll get one that looks a bit like it and maybe change the colors and have, a different font and that kind of thing. Do you see a problem with that particular approach?
So I see a lot of photographers that do that. The Photocrati theme, for example, has always been a very basic theme that you can adjust the colors and whatnot. And a lot of the customers, they'll buy it and they'll just use it with the default and not customize it. But we've made it so easy for them to customize that, it's surprising, but that they don't actually go through it and customize colors and branding and whatever. But yeah, it's common. Another thing I wanted to mention as well, though, is that photographers are not typically business people, which relates obviously to, marketing on a website. And so photographers are photographers first, and then they learn business, typically. When I was in college, I went to college for photography, and I had to take one business class during my time there, only one. And I walked away learning absolutely nothing that would benefit my photography business. But I'm sure there's many other reasons why people struggle. It's just those are what come to my mind.
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention that about the business class. I was talking to a photographer just last week, in fact, and she said, oh yeah, I did photography at college and they made me take a business class. And I said, oh, so how long did you do that for? And she says, it was just one class.
And mine was small business management. So it was like, this is what an LLC is. This is what a C Corp is. And that's really about it.
And, I'm sure that people just don't wake up one day and go, you know what, I have such a love of business and marketing. I think I'm going to become a photographer. It's more the other way around. They love photography and then they feel like they want to earn a living from it, and then they have to face that beast that kind of comes after them, the business and the marketing and the accounting and all that kind of yucky stuff that nobody wants to really deal with. But the website, the way that I see it, at least, is that it's the central hub, if you like, of anyone's online marketing presence. It's where everybody ends up, all roads lead to the website kind of thing. Do you feel that most photographers that you come across really understand what their website's main purpose really is?
No. So many see it as a means to display their work, and that's all. And obviously the portfolio is extremely important. Because if someone comes to your website and you're a photographer and you have no photos in your portfolio, you're not going to get business from it. But I think, in my opinion, the purpose of the website is to get customers one way or another. And to do that, you need to find ways to get leads as well, which in turn can convert into customers. So it's rare to see a photographer really dying to find new ways to attract leads to the website. But I love it when photographers ask me for advice on generating leads, because it's not an easy task, and it's definitely specific to each photographer and each photography niche. So the main purpose of the website, aside from displaying your work, is to get business, to get leads to eventually to convert into customers, whether the lead comes in through the website or through a contact form or whatever, or if the lead is just a phone call, but they say, hey, I was just on your website, and that's the goal, is to get business, get customers off of the website.
So as far as generating leads goes, I mean, do you think it's possible for a website to generate a lead in one shot? I mean, and what I mean by that is somebody goes to Google, they type in, hey, I need a wedding photographer, and a bunch of websites come up in the listings, and so they click on one, they head over there, and they go, oh, this is cool, I like it, I think I'm going to turn myself into a lead, or get in touch with the photographer. I mean, is that really realistic in most cases, do you think, for a website to be able to take a first-time visitor to the website and turn them into an immediate lead?
It happens. It definitely happens, but there needs to be a reason for someone to become a lead. There needs to be proof, social proof, or something that will provide merit for that person to trust you, believe that you are the right person for the job, beyond just the photographs. I mean, we talked about this in the last interview with the wedding photographer conversion kit. The fact that now there's an offer that wedding photographers specifically can create to prove authority in the industry and to provide value to a person, to make them want to become a lead, to make them want to give you their email address and or phone number to get a conversation rolling. There's ways to do this in every photography niche. Yeah, I mean, it's you got to have something to make the offer worthwhile, and you've got to blog and prove authority through a blog and prove that you know what you're doing and share your most recent work and educate your potential customers.
And of course, it's all about building a relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like, if you can imagine, let's say, you live in a big city that you're really familiar with, and you're walking down the street, and a tourist or a stranger walks up to you and says, hey, I need to get to this place. Maybe it's a famous little coffee shop or a restaurant or something like that, or they want to see some kind of landmark. And you could say, oh, well, sure, just go down that street, turn left, go down a bit, turn right, and you're there. Or you could say, well, hey, I'm heading that way. Why don't I show you some of the other sites on the way that some of the other tourists may not see? And all of a sudden, you've given them something really valuable. Not only have you given your time to a stranger, but you've shown them something different. And I think in some respects, having a valuable giveaway on a website that you can offer to prospects, whether they're wedding people or portraits or commercial or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It cements that relationship, and the next time that they are really focusing on getting that photographer hired, then they're going to come to you because you'll be the one that helped them the most.
Correct. Yep. Completely agree.
Going back to the website thing, what would you say are the top 3 things that we need to build the perfect photography website?
Branding, photographs, and authority. We can go through each one. So branding, where you have your logo or identity of some sort. You have a color scheme to go with it. So that is throughout the photographer's website. The branding also bleeds offline. So any business cards or promo cards or anything that you do matches what you're doing on your website. That way, the potential customer always recognizes that photographer's business right away, because whether, if the person visited a website and then was at I'm going to talk about wedding photographers because it's the easiest way to talk about this. So let's say the wedding photographer's website, a bride and groom went to it, and the bride and groom are now at a floral shop, and there was a flyer or a bunch of drop cards for that wedding photographer. They're going to recognize that logo and that color scheme in the photos because they just looked at the website. So branding is extremely important. Photographs is the most obvious answer. You got to have, it's not just about displaying the photographs. You've got to have them displayed, of course, but it's about displaying them in a way that's appealing to the site visitor. that shows off the photographer's best and only the best work. So the homepage should have the ultimate best, maybe 5 to 10 photographs at most. Whether it's a slideshow which I know not everyone likes, or it's a thumbnail gallery, or it's just a static photo, or whatever it is, 5 to 10 photos at the most on the homepage. And the portfolio in each category, whether it's portrait or wedding or children or whatever it is, 24 photos, in the portfolio. Also the best for each category. And that portfolio should also match the offline portfolio. So a physical book that is created, anything that's on the website should match what's in the physical book. So if you have a face-to-face meeting with a lead that you're trying to convert to a customer, now they can see the photos that you've displayed digitally on paper, which pigment has such a different feel than a digital screen, and it's a lot more relatable. And of course, the last I said was authority, which is something that a photographer can build for him or herself. And this, like I said a little bit ago, can be done via blogging, through email marketing, social media, creating a free product offer for the site visitors, which we just discussed, like the wedding photographer conversion kit. All of those are different ways that you can show authority in the industry to a potential client to prove that you know what you're doing, you've been doing it for a while, and you're someone that they can trust to hire.
So 3 great points there. With branding, for example, you mentioned that it's to do with things like the logo, the colors, the design, and all that kind of thing. But, I think also that branding has a lot to do with the experience that people have and how you relate to your customers, because that then feeds into that third aspect that you mentioned, the authority. If you give people a great experience and they just rave about you to their friends, then that's almost like instant authority right there.
Yep, definitely.
And with the photographs, I think I want to reiterate what you said there, because it was quite important about not overloading the visitor with images and being ruthless with the editing, in terms of selecting the right images to display on the homepage or throughout the website, because I see a lot of websites with a homepage even that has 20, 30, 40 photographs in a slideshow on the front page that just becomes a blur.
And depending on the industry, some photo editors don't like slideshows. Mm-hmm. Some would prefer to click on the thumbnail and then view it larger. But in a wedding industry, most brides and grooms, they don't really care. They just want to see the photos. So it really depends on the industry. It's a matter of doing the research and figuring out what do people want to see. And if you are in an industry where a photo editor would be looking at your photos, check out sites like, I think it's just Photo Editor or something like that. There's a site, it's a blog where it's a photo editor that blogs about work that is reviewed, and how the process and whatnot. So there's ways to learn about what your potential clients want, the experience they want to have.
And so once we've got the website up and we've got, the images on it and hopefully some marketing copy to go with it, the next thing that people seem to really focus on is traffic. They say, I just want more visitors to my website. I've got to find out how to get more people from Google, how to get more people from this and that. But is traffic, and I really hate that word, by the way, I wish people would stop using it, but is traffic really the most important thing to measure?
No, traffic is nice, but it's not everything. I mean, what's more important to measure is, how many leads can you get? Or, even to go along with visits or traffic, or I'm going to call it visits, is how many visits does it take to convert that person to a lead? To get that person to contact you in one way or another. And how can you improve that metric? How can you make sure that it takes less visits for a person to become a lead? And then once they're a lead, do they keep going back to your site? And how long does it take for them to become a customer? So those are, in my opinion, more important to measure. If you're doing a free product offering, like a guide, like a wedding guide, then figuring out how many times it takes a person to go to your site before they opt in to download that guide and give you their email address. That's an important metric because, there's ways that you can adjust the copy, the words that are that these site visitors are seeing, and placement of it as well, of ways you can adjust it in order to improve that. And that, to me, is a little bit more important than just the traffic.
As a sort of an aside to that, it's also important that when people do sign up for whatever free giveaway you have, so let's say it's a wedding guide, they give you their email address and they click submit, then don't just let them just disappear at that point. Send them to a customized thank you page where you can take that relationship maybe a little bit further, because you've already got them into a frame of mind where it seems that they want to connect with you in some way. So invite them to join you on Facebook, or make another call to action to get them to call you on the phone or something.
One of the things that I see a lot of the more high-end wedding photographers, like the wedding photographers that are charging in like the $10,000 a wedding range, one thing I see them doing is thank you pages typically have a sort of personal, obviously it can't be like, "Hi, Jane, thanks for emailing me," but a personal video saying, "Thanks for contacting me. I'd love to chat with you more on Facebook, blah, 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 blah. Or if you'd like to meet up, let's meet for coffee. Here's a place. Just let me know when's available for you, and we'll set up a time," type of thing. And it's a video of the wedding photographer talking to the person who just basically became the lead, that is as personal as it can be without saying the person's name, because obviously that is not really a possibility.
Another thing to consider these days too is mobile, because I think somebody earlier this year said that for the first time, I think 2014 will be the first time when mobile web visitors will outnumber the desktop crowd. And so how easy is it for photographers to cater to their mobile visitors?
It's extremely easy these days. So a few years back, WordPress users had to rely on plugins like WP Touch or Obox Mobile, where it basically turned your website into a mobile app when viewed only on a mobile device. And that was convenient because responsive wasn't as popular back then. It existed, just wasn't, it was rare. So the downside is that it's not good for SEO. It could not be good for site speed, depending on what was going on. But now with responsive design, it's so much easier. Basically, responsive design is where a website will automatically scale down to fit various screen sizes. And this is done seamlessly with slight design changes to match the smaller screens. I would guesstimate that 20 to 40% of all website visits these days are on mobile. So catering that large number is well worthwhile. And up until now, the Photocrati theme wasn't responsive because it wasn't a high demand. And in 2014, it became a high demand. Our customers were asking for it. We recognized the changing industry. And since 2014 started, we've been working hard to make sure that the next theme update is fully responsive. And it's almost complete. We're probably a week or two away, hopefully, knock on wood. We knew it was important, and we wanted to make sure we did it right, and did it right for the photographer, because most photographers, as I've said, are not business people. They're also not web developers or web designers. So photographers want different things. Photographers that want to customize their site, they want different things. And not everyone will want a responsive site that's 100% of the browser width by default. They will want 100% when it's on mobile because, you want to take up as much real estate on mobile as you can. So we created options where photographers can choose their default content width in pixels or in percentages. So, for example, my personal site, where I've been beta testing the next Photocrati theme update, I think I have it set to 95% width. So it's not quite full width, but once you go to mobile, it's 100% full width. So we did that, and all of that can be done with a couple clicks without knowing any code. So responsive is very easy. Depending on what WordPress theme you're using, some make adjusting that easier than others, like what we're doing. Some do not. So, but yeah, for the most part, as long as you go with a responsive theme, it should look good on mobile.
One of the things that is sort of a knock-on effect, if you like, of mobile responsiveness, especially to do with WordPress websites, is that the typical structure of a WordPress site, especially a blog, is to have a block of content down the left-hand side and then a sidebar, a narrower sidebar down the right. Mm-hmm. And the top of the sidebar is usually the place where people tend to put their email sign-up forms. Now, what happens is when somebody looks at that website on a mobile device, that sidebar gets pushed all the way down to the bottom and isn't visible right away. But with a little bit of coding, it's very minimal coding actually, it's quite possible to create elements on a web page that are sort of default to being invisible, if you like, on a desktop view, but then which become visible on a mobile. So you can have an opt-in sign-up box at the top of the page that isn't seen on a normal desktop, but it does become visible when you're looking at it on an iPhone or an iPad or something like that.
I can actually take that to a new level as well. This is going to blow your mind because no one's done this before. One of the things we wanted to do after a lot of debate of what customers wanted, because that's our top priority at Photocrati, is what the customers want is what we do. So one of the requests when we were talking about responsive with our customers was they don't like the fact that their sidebar drops below. So we gave the option of, do you want your sidebar to go on mobile? Do you want it to go above or below the content? So customers can now decide with a click of a button on mobile, have that sidebar before the content. That way, if they have an opt-in, it's showing first.
So we've talked, a fair amount about all kinds of different aspects of websites here, and you've mentioned the Photocrati themes, quite a bit. So let's spend the last couple of minutes here just talking about those and how they can help photographers sort of better stand out from the crowd. You've already mentioned some great benefits, but is there anything else that we can talk about with those?
So the Photocrati theme is $89. It comes with over 60 presets. In WordPress, there's something called child themes, where you can have a master theme, and then you can install a child theme, which is basically a variant on that theme. Photocrati customers, because they're photographers and not WordPress users or web developers or web designers by trade, they don't understand child themes. We made it easier. Photographers understand presets. So we basically made a preset system in our theme where you can, a click or two, change your design without having to upload anything, or you can customize your own design, export that, back it up, import it to, trade presets with, other Photocrati users or whatever you want to do to make that very easy to change your designs. And like I said, back up your design so you can customize it, save your preset, and then export that and back that up with your photos backed up. So if something never happened, you can revert to your design at any time. Each of the designs built in are unique and, again, could be changed with a click of a mouse. Customizations can be made using our visual editors for colors, fonts. We have all the Google fonts in there. So there's so many options. All can be done without any code. Built-in gallery displays, so thumbnail galleries, slideshows, film strip galleries, things like that. There's a gallery or portfolio management system and e-commerce. So photographers who want to sell prints can do that, sell through PayPal. And I talked about the responsive capability coming extremely soon. Hopefully by the time that this airs, it'll be done and released. And in the new update, we're also adding new presets, new modern presets, which include background slideshows for homepages, left-sided headers, which is really cool. And opacity, which allows photographers to have more of a 3D feel to their websites. So when photographers buy our theme, we want them to feel like they can contact us anytime, and our support team lives up to it. So the team is happy to answer any, burning questions, whether it's specifically related to the theme or WordPress in general, because if they can help, they will. We have a plugin called Next Gen Gallery. So in WordPress, you have themes, which are the design of the website. And of course, as you've been hearing in the Photocrati theme, we have lots of functionality, including the gallery system. We also have for WordPress users who have a different theme, we have a plugin called Next Gen Gallery, which is also a gallery management system. Has over 10 million downloads. It's been one of the most popular WordPress plugins of all time. It's very similar gallery displays as what's in the Photocrati theme, but it actually has even more, including a masonry gallery. And there's a paid add-on for it, which includes e-commerce, digital downloads. Proofing is coming very soon, and a bunch of other awesome stuff. But either way, whatever direction photographers go, there's options out there. And our goal is to make photography websites easier because photographers aren't web designers or developers. They also don't have the time, money, or energy to mess with websites. So we are there to lend a hand however we can.
One last question for you on the Photocrati stuff, because clearly there's an awful lot of flexibility in this system. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that they can customize stuff, they can create their own child themes or presets, as you call them, and exchange those with other people and all that kind of stuff. Is there a temptation, do you think, for people to theme hop in this type of situation where the photographer, because they're looking at their website day in and day out, next Tuesday they go, oh, I'm kind of bored with that. I think I want to change it. And then they get caught in this little cycle of changing their theme constantly, which may interfere with their branding to some degree. Do you have any sort of advice for people on that?
I would definitely say stick with a design for a good amount of time. Don't just change it, that often. And if you do plan on changing it, hopefully by that point, you've gotten enough leads and you have enough email addresses that you've got an email marketing list that you can send an email to saying, hey, we're redesigning the website. It'll be done in a few days, whatever, or however long. Here's a screenshot of what it's going to look like, and give them a heads up so they can prepare to go back to the website and see the difference. And it gives them a reason to go back to the website, see what's new and what you've been doing in your blog, and check out your new photos, and possibly share stuff with their friends and colleagues and whatnot. So don't do it often. Don't change site design often. But if you do, try to email your email list and get them engaged with that change. So it's not just you changing it for you. Change it for them.
I guess that kind of brings us about to the end here. We've been going about 30 minutes. So I want to thank you for doing this. This has been so very, very helpful. And I know that you are helping to stop photographers building websites that look like they were made in 1993.
I love GeoCities.
Who doesn't love those static websites with the flashing text and the marquees on them? One of these days, we might even see a resurgence of retro websites, going back to the early 90s. I hope not. Well, Scott, thank you so much again. This has been wonderful. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Hopefully we can get you back again at some point, and we'll open up your head and talk about some other stuff, maybe some camera stuff or technical stuff or whatever you feel like talking about. But as always, it's been wonderful having you with us.
Yeah, thanks again for having me back.